I think that's an accurate analysis here. I mean, the president's talking about Obamacare moving fast. Yesterday in his news conference, he said that Obamacare repeal would be announced by the White House in early to mid-March, and that would come before tax reform. So you get a sense of the way the train cars are being stacked here in this train. Obamacare first and then tax reform later in the year. That could be something that could be a challenge for those who are supporters of tax reform, just because health care reform in this country has been a quagmire for a number of presidents. It takes a lot longer than they expect going in. It's a lot more politically fraught than they expect going in. And we'll see whether this White House can dodge some of those bullets. But that could be something to keep an eye on later in the year. Also, something to keep an eye on is news that we got overnight, Sarah, that Robert Harward, the retired vice admiral who's now an executive at Lockheed Martin and is a former Navy SEAL, has turned down the president's apparent offer to be the national security advisor. Remember, Mike Flynn was fired earlier this week. The president said yesterday in his news conference that he felt he had a very good choice to replace Mike Flynn. It's not Harward, though. Harward says that he's got family and financial reasons why he doesn't want to take this job, but there are also reports that he was concerned that of the management style of this White House, that he wouldn't be able to run the National Security Council the way he wanted to, with the team in place that he wanted to have. That is something worth watching. Watch this space in terms of senior level people who are reluctant to go into the Trump administration. If that were a trend that were to continue, that could be a problem for the Trump administration as well. They need a lot of top people, including a communications director, but all of that discussed at one level or another yesterday in this amazing and relatively wild press conference by the president. Here's one of the sound bites from yesterday's press conference. This is the president talking about the state of the country. It's a surprisingly sour note from the president yesterday. Typically, a month into their presidency, you hear a very upbeat, optimistic, forward-looking president of the United States. Here's what the president said yesterday.
I inherited a mess. It's a mess. At home and abroad, a mess. Jobs are pouring out of the country. You see what's going on with all of the companies leaving our country, going to Mexico and other places. Low pay, low wages, mass instability overseas, no matter where you look. The Middle East, a disaster. North Korea. We'll take care of it, folks. We're going to take care of it all.
But, Sarah, he struck an upbeat note in terms of talking about the stock market. He took credit for the stock market's recent rise and said that that was an indication of enthusiasm in the business sector over his policies. And the president seemed to warm up, Sarah, as he went along, especially in sparring with the media, which he loves to do. He sort of cheered up a little bit toward the end of the press conference as he got a chance to interact with all those reporters who were in the room.
Eamon, it's been a bumpy week overall for the president, and I suppose that press conference yesterday, the peak of the volatility of the week that he's had. To what extent are we slightly missing the point, though, and to what extent is things like that press conference yesterday being absolutely adored by 50% or so of the country?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the Trump base hates the media and loves it when the president tears into the media, as he did to their faces yesterday in the East Room of the White House. So that is going to play extraordinarily well with his political base. The problem that the president has politically is that he needs to expand beyond his base. He won the presidency, and now he needs to do something with it in terms of legislative victories. So he's going to need Republicans on Capitol Hill. He's going to need to bring some Democrats aboard. He's going to need to try to slow some of the Democratic opposition up on the Hill. And to the extent that he shows that his White House is mired in infighting and a sense of chaos, which he denied yesterday. He said it's a well-oiled machine. But to the extent that perception gets out there despite the president's denials, that could hamper all of those other efforts that the president wants to do. So that's why people watch these surface-level political things.
And I think the point that we keep making, the resilience of the stock market, is relevant here, given some of the chaos that's coming out of D.C. and some of the backlash and some of what we're seeing on other media. Eamon, Joe Scarborough tweeted, Republicans on the Hill were panicked behind the scenes by Trump's performance today. And that's something I think, if true, would matter to investors because of that ambitious agenda that we've been talking about and that you laid out. What do you hear about Republican reaction?
Well, I haven't talked to any Republican members of Congress since yesterday, but I can tell you that in talking to some of them before the press conference, you do get the sense that even among those people who are in total support of the Trump agenda, who want to build the wall, who like this president's ideas, they scratch their heads sometimes at the president's behavior, his tweets, the way he expresses himself. They don't understand where he gets his ideas oftentimes. I mean, we had a moment yesterday where the president said something about his electoral college victory, and Peter Alexander of NBC News stood up and flatly told him that he was just wrong about his facts. The president said, well, I read that somewhere. I got that information from someone, and someone gave that to me. That's the kind of thing that Republicans on the Hill watch and say, you know, what is going on here? And that could have a falling out effect on his legislative agenda. We haven't seen it yet, but watch for it, because that's something to be concerned about in Washington.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.